Good evening. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Sunday, the 23rd of February. My disclaimer: I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right. Okay. We saw a very interesting day on Friday. We saw a strong decline, and we've now got some bearish action to suggest that we might break down from these some of these very impressive bearish patterns that we've got, and that I did a post about earlier in the week. We will see, but we've broken obviously the rising support trend line here, and we're getting down towards the monthly pivot, which is in the 60-12, which is at 60-12.75. Obviously, that is only the monthly pivot for the remainder of this week, as this is the last trading week of the month. NQ, we saw a breakdown as well, and there's something I would like to say about ES and NQ, and that is, you see where this got down to on the RSI here, on the hourly chart? Well, this pretty much always delivers a rally. Sometimes that rally lasts a day. Sometimes it doesn't even last a day. But it is a significant rally. If you see this move here, what did we see straight afterwards? We saw a rally here. We saw a rally. That one didn't. That one really only lasted into the open, but we'll probably see a rally into that open. And here we saw another rally as well. A lot of these go down afterwards, but some of them actually act as short-term lows, like this one here, like this one here. And here we will see how it goes. I'm leaning towards seeing a rally and then a move down afterwards. We've got the nice bearish tape for the last week of February. I've been talking on the pre-market videos about that being historically bearish, and we've got a bearish leaning day on Monday, and we've got a very bearish leaning day on Friday. But in recent years, the whole week has leaned bearish, and so this is a good time to be starting a decline if that is what we are doing here. NQ, we've got it pretty much the same, getting down to this level on the RSI, pretty much sets up for a strong rally from that. That rally may last less than a day. On one occasion, it may just take it to the next open and then drift down slightly from there. But we're unlikely to see any big downside tomorrow. That would be unusual. Looking at RTY, nice move down, well below the monthly pivot there. I've got much more to say about the Bollinger Bands here, which I'll be having a careful look at, but we'll do that on the RTH charts. YM, nice breakdown down below the weekly pivot and the monthly pivot, so we've got a pretty good target if we're going to see a rally, and historically, again, we're likely to see a rally. So we will see how that goes. But I'm liking the prospects for a rally, and then I'm liking the prospects for more downside afterwards. In terms of that more downside, we don't have much in the way of targets yet, but we do have targets on DAX and STX. Here, the target on DAX would be in about the 21,850 area. We've got a buy signal that's fixed here before this decline started, and we might lose that buy signal. But ESTX has also got a nice looking head and shoulder target in the 5350 area, and I'm leaning towards both of those making target. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Right, on SPX, on the weekly chart, we've got a bearish engulfing candle. How reliable are those? Well, in my experience, not hugely actually, but they are quite impressive, and everyone knows what a bearish engulfing candle looks like. But sometimes they actually deliver the goods pretty well. This one here, I'm not quite sure that was a full bearish engulfing, but it was pretty close. We have this one here that went down a lot. I have seen quite a lot of these peter out and deliver very little, but certainly at the very minimum, it's interesting. Looking at the daily chart, we saw a strong break down below the daily middle band. Looking at the hourly chart, I had a decent looking rising wedge here. I'm posting it with the documents, with the charts I'm posting with the bigger picture webinar. But you can see we've got that, it's broken down, and that is suggesting that we'll see more downside, although we don't have a specific pattern or a target coming from the short-term pattern. On the 15-minute chart, a little bit of positive divergence. Sorry, I've got a RSI. That's actually an RSI 5 buy signal fix. Obviously, absent-mindedly put in the wrong thing there. So hang on a second. Let's just correct that. We've got a 15-minute RSI 5 buy signal. It's only a small signal, but as I said, on the hourly charts, I think I'm very much leaning towards this making target. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at. Hang on, wait a second. Just fill this in and move on to QQQ. All right, QQQ. Now, obviously, QQQ and SPX had been the strongest here. Now we've seen a clear break below the daily middle band on the Qs. In terms of the weeklies, looking at NDX, we've got. Yeah, I think we got a bearish engulfing candle there too, which is promising. We had a sell signal on the hourly RSI 14 and RSI 5, and that's made target. And I haven't marked it in, but this was a little head and shoulders, which pretty much made target on Friday. And this is a decent looking setup. Have we broken below the rising support? We have not. So waiting to see if we are going to break down below that, but we will see. On the 15-minute, no current divergence, or at least not much, a bit of positive divergence on the close. But in terms of the, let's just mark in, hang on, let's just mark in, because I think it's good for you guys to see me mark in patterns and see how I do it. So one thing I get asked pretty regularly is how do you work out the target on head and shoulders? It could not be more simple. It really couldn't. So, hang on for a second. What you do is you draw an arrow as close as possible to where the high is down to the neckline. And that gives you your distance because you create an arrow of exactly the same size. And you put it in next to the break. And that gives you your head and shoulder target. We didn't quite make it. That target was at about 424.4, 524.4, but we came pretty close to it. I'm thinking we may well see a rally and then make that target, but I'm thinking, obviously, as I mentioned, that we see a rally to start off with. Now, Dia, this is interesting because Dia, of course, has been much weaker to start off with, and we've got these very compressed daily bands. Now, this meant that we've got the 3SD lower band of 45370, and we actually closed 20 points below it. This is unusual. Again, generally speaking, this would mean an immediate bounce. Do we have a previous instance of this happening on this chart? I have said it's very unusual. Yeah, we saw a little break below on here, or at least a close on it. That was an immediate short-term low. Got down to it here, led to a little rally, got down to it here, led to a little rally. Generally speaking, hitting the 3SD lower band leads to a rally. Hit it here, hit it here, hit it here, all of those delivered a rally. This one only lasted a day or two, but nonetheless, there was a rally. So we haven't got any breaks of the size of this one. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm inclined to reckon that this is more support feeding a rally, and generally speaking, might deliver a bit of time for this to turn down and bracket the decline, because generally speaking, the markets do not like being too much below the 3SD lower band unless you're looking at a full-scale crash, which I don't see any indication at the moment that we're still looking at here. Looking at the Dia, the possible triangle I was looking at has broken down. Could this be a flag? Yeah, maybe. I've not got any decent trend lines for it, but possibly. I'm not treating it as one, though, and actually I think it's unlikely it is one. In terms of the divergence on 15-minute charts, we've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fix, got a weak RSI 5 buy signal fix, and we had a lovely little channel here, which is suggesting that we're going to see at least a rally up into this resistance here in the 436.5 area before we see any further downside. But I think we may well have a rally that lasts another couple of days. Let's have a look at IWM. And looking at the daily charts, again, because the bands have become so compressed here, we saw a close significantly below the 3SD lower band. Again, this is rarity again. It suggests fairly strongly that we're going to see an immediate rally. And very possibly that lasts for a couple of days, give some time for the bands to expand, and then we see a further downside made. We've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal here on the daily chart. On the weekly chart, hang on, right, on the weekly chart, we were already below the weekly lower band. This has actually been downtrend for a while, and we've got a potential channel here, and this could be channel support if it holds. It doesn't need to hold, of course, but if it doesn't hold, then this can go significantly further down. This is also the possible head and shoulders. Now, I have to say, I don't like this head and shoulders. There's a good reason for that, and that is I don't like it when the right shoulder high, which would be here, is lower than the prior high before it. That's and we've got that here. I mean, I have to say this might just be a personal prejudice on my part. I have seen these before. They do tend to make target okay, but I have to say I just don't like it because it disturbs the logic in my view. It's but we've broken down below the rising support. I'm liking a little bounce here, and then I'm liking some further downside. In terms of, is this, I did mark in this as a potential level top here. I think we're likely heading back into a retest this low at 213.97. I do think this little level top is oversized, and I'm feeling it's less reliable as a result. Looking at DAX, we've seen finally some weakness here. We're nowhere near the daily middle band yet, but I'm thinking we've got a good chance of getting down to it, and we've now got an RSI 5 sell signal which is fixed. We will see how that goes. We don't really have any topping patterns on the bigger picture. We've got the small head and shoulders, which obviously I've mentioned already. On Nikkei, we are testing the daily lower band, and I'm thinking we may well find a bit of support here. Really, historically, there's pretty good argument for a rally here, unless we get more news tomorrow, which pushes us into more of a crash type situation or very, very sudden decline situation. But normally, if you're going to see the 3SD lower band not deliver a rally, then normally you're in a crash situation. I'm not seeing much reason to think that we're seeing that here. We'll see. All right, let's have a look at DX. Okay, no, CL first. Okay, CL. We saw a strong rejection here. Now, this little level bottom had broken up here, and I was thinking we might get up to the target here, get over the monthly pivot, but at the moment we've rejected back to the low. Now, this means, of course, we've got another potential little level bottom here, and that could break up, but I'm thinking this was a bit of a rejection, and we may well see this follow through to the downside. NG still looks like it's forming a bull flag, wasn't really affected. 60-minute sell signal is fixed and hasn't made the possible near miss target yet. If we're forming a flag, I'd be looking really for a move down into about the 3.95, 3.97 area, and then go up from there. We'll see if that delivers. All right, let's have a look at the CL chart. Okay, no divergence on the daily chart here. I've got a possible rising support trend line here, which could be a target at the 68.75 area. Looking at the bigger picture, this isn't particularly well defined, but we are holding, I would say in the short term, the daily middle band as resistance, and we're holding that pretty well. While that remains the case, we are at least in the short term in a downtrend. So looking at the weekly chart, no current divergence there. We broke over this declining resistance here, but I am wondering again if we might come back and retest this low, 64.36, but actually that low was at 63.57. For some reason it's picked up this low and not this one. I'm wondering if we might be breaking down towards that, but again, we'd probably need, we've got very compressed bands here, we'd need a bit of time probably for those to expand. I'm keeping an open mind on oil because I don't think there's any really strong fundamental reason for this to go up or down at the moment. NG, we do have some decent patterns here. Now, we saw this double top break down, it's broken back up again and rejected, and we do have a potential larger double top here, which on a sustained break below 3 would have a target in about the 1.67 area. But I'm doubtful about seeing that. I think at the stage we've got to now, I'm quite liking the upside. We could reject back to the lows, but we've got a very nice looking double bottom here, which is broken up and then retraced and then confirmed with a break up again on, back testing the weekly middle band. At this stage, we'd need to break down below the daily middle band with a bit of confidence for me to discard this double bottom setup. At the moment, that's got a target in the 5.75 to 6.25 area, and that's also up the 50% retracement. Really, this is what I was expecting to happen after, ideally, we'd made another retest this low. We didn't make that retest. We've broken up already, and that is a very logical target. I think it may well get there. We will see. All right, looking at GC. GC, we've got a potential double top here, and I've got to say, we've got some slightly worrying looking bigger picture sell signals on metals, which I'm looking at and wondering about. This could be a double top if we saw a sustained break below the 2880 area. 28.85 actually. Then we can see a move down to the monthly pivot area 27.83. Although by the time we reach there, I wouldn't expect that to be the monthly pivot anymore. That would we would have moved on to a new one. SI, no obvious pattern here, but I would say we've got a pretty nice looking head and shoulders which is trying to break down on copper. This has got a target at the monthly pivot area 4.24, and if we're going to be seeing further declines on equities, which I think we well might, on those topping patterns that I was talking about, I'll have a read on my post that I put last week if you haven't seen it, but I've got the lovely topping patterns on SPX, on the Qs, on Dire, and I think we might be starting to play those out. We will see. But if so, then I think this head and shoulders has got a pretty good chance to make a target, and that target is at 4.24. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And on GC, we've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing now on the daily. We've got a lovely looking double top. And I'm thinking, and we're just below the psychological 3,000 level. This wouldn't be a bad time to be seeing a retracement. On the weekly chart, we've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing. I'm liking a bit of retracement here. On the monthly, we've got it as well. Do I think we're making a significant high here on metals? I'm not seeing a lot of sign of that. Really, I'm expecting this to retrace, maybe retrace and then go a bit higher. On SI, this head and shoulders has failed. That's got a target back up at 35.07. No current negative divergence. Palladium. Palladium, we've got a double bottom, which is an iron chest, which is broken up here. That hasn't failed yet, but if we get down below 959, it will fail, and that would suggest a retest of this low here at 896. All right, let's have a look at platinum. On platinum, we had a daily RSI 5 sell signal here. That's now made target. We could be failing this IHS, but we need to get down below 938.50 for that to fail. I'm thinking a bit of retracement here, and then I'd like to see this resume the uptrend with the rest of the metals. On HG, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. Neither of those has made target yet. We've got this nice looking head and shoulders which is breaking down. I'm liking the downside. On GDX, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and we've got a nice looking little double top there. I'm quite liking that too. On the GDX chart, you can see, actually, not a double top, it's a head and shoulders. Could read it as a double top, but it makes a better head and shoulders. This has got a target down. We've got some rising support in about the 40.4 area. This has got a target down in about the 39.5 area. Looking at GDXJ, RSI 14 sell signal fixed, RSI 5 sell signal fixed, nice looking double top, and this one is a double top. We've broken down below support, and I would have a target for that in about the 47.5 area. And at the moment, well, I'm just saying there's quite a lot of suggestion on the metals. We are about to see a retracement. I think we may well see that. All right, let's have a look at ZB. ZB. We had a head and shoulders here. It failed, but at the moment it's not retracing back to the lows. I am wondering about a retest of this high here, and I'm wondering if that might be the second high of a double top when we get there, because I've got unresolved targets on TNX to the upside, and that to the downside would have a target really at about the 104 to 106 area. Finger in the air, but reasonably like an educated guess. DX, I've got this as a flag which is actually underthrowing bullishly. Now, maybe that we could go down directly from here, but I'm really liking the upside on DX here, and one of the reasons for that is on the bigger picture charts. Looking at DX, we've got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing on the daily now. I'm liking this. We've got a nice looking little double bottom as well. It looks good. I haven't marked it in, but we've actually got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing here on DX. Nice looking potential double bottom, not quite as nice as the one on this is the USD index, but not quite as nice as the one on DX, but still pretty good. I'm liking the upside here on the dollar. It may be that won't deliver anything, will continue down, and it'll break the flag setup, but it is a nice flag setup. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt until we see strong evidence to the contrary. In terms of the bigger picture charts, RSI 5 sell signal on the weekly reached the possible near miss target. If we're testing the week to middle band, this would be a good time for this to turn back up if we are going to see a retest of 110. And at that stage, of course, we've got the same inflection point I've been talking about for months, where we could have a move up to 114.75 or see a full reversal back down. All right, looking at TNX. TNX on the hourly chart, we've got a possible weak RSI 5 buy signal brewing. We've not quite reached the retest of this low here at 43.98, but then this wouldn't be the second low of a double bottom anyway, because it would be too large. So we'll see how that goes. I'm still liking the upside here, not least because we've got this beautiful flag on the daily and it's broken up, and that's got a target in the 49.97 area. I think after this retracement, not necessarily finished yet, but afterwards we're going to go back and see 49.97, and on the bigger picture, the much bigger picture, we got a big inflection point there. I've marked in the potential inverted head and shoulders. It's just broken down. This hasn't failed. And this actually has a target in the 8 area. Now, could that make target? Well, I know that seems kind of high, but actually it seems kind of high before we see potentially a whole load of tariffs go on, the US's major trading partners. That could move up inflation quite a bit. If inflation goes up, then, and if taxes, and if there's a call for large amounts of fairly unfunded tax cuts, and it looks as though the current government hasn't got a plan to, in the long term, for the US to be able to pay its debts, then we could see a bond crisis. A bond crisis could absolutely send interest rates up to 8 or 10%. And in November, I think I might have mentioned in a video, but certainly I penciled in as soon as Trump was elected, I penciled in a 1 in 3 chance of a bond crisis this year, based on his tax plans. Now, at the moment, he's trying to carry out all of the plans he laid out, and if that's one of them, then I'm still thinking the bond crisis is a significant possibility. We will see. But I'm expecting it to get back to 5, and when we get back to it, I'm expecting that to be an inflection point level. And we will see what further news comes out. But I think we could see quite a lot of downside on stocks over the next few months. I think we could see a lot of upside on bond yields and downside on bonds. We shall see. All right, not a lot to report on the currencies really. I'm just mainly looking at the DX. So let's have a look at KC. KC, this still looks like a bull flag for me. We've now got a possible RSI, a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing. I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this high. Looking at SB, SB is making steady progress towards the inverted head and shoulders target of 20.25, and I'm not seeing anything obvious to suggest that isn't going to make it. We've had a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing, but then that was brewing actually for most of last week. Looking at CC, we've now made a lower low below here, and that's quite encouraging if this is an overall bull flag forming. That could give some form to this consolidation if the obvious trend line would be a shade below the 9,000 area. So we will see whether that delivers. But if that hits and we see support there, then we would actually have a pretty nice looking bull flag. On CT, we had a nice looking bear flag, and that's broken down. Beautiful bear flag channel. I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this low here in the 66.2 area. We do have, in the short term, a 60-minute buy signal fixed. Could we see a retest this high and then a retest low? It would be a bit oversized, but maybe, yeah. ZW. We've got a nice looking megaphone here, but it's looking a little worn as we're having little pokes below it. I think this might be about to break down. We've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed, which is supporting that. On corn, seeing some retracement here, back below the new week to pivot at 509. We'll see. Soy. Nice looking double top that's broken down here. We've been seeing a bit of a rally here. It looks kind of like a bear flag. And I'm thinking that may well break down to retest this low and then continue down towards this target area in the 1,000 to 1,005 area. Looking at lumber. Don't have a decent pattern set up here. We have got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, but so far that's not making a difference. In terms of short-term targets, I'm wondering if we're going to see a retest of this high here at 635. On live cattle, we've got a nice looking bull flag wedge here, and it's starting to break up. We've not actually seen it follow through on that, but I think it may well do that. And we've got a nice looking little double bottom here, which could get us back down up to about 198. So we'll see how that goes. Lean hogs, this has been very weak. We've got a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing. Needs to get back over the monthly pivot now, which it just lost. We will see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts as well. On KC, no current negative divergence, and we're not going to get, on a retest of the high, we're not going to get an RSI 5 sell signal brewing, but we could get an RSI 14 sell signal brewing. I'd quite like to see that. Historically, this is a pretty high level, and I'm thinking we may be making a high, but I'd love to see that high retest first. Sugar, getting very overbought, and we're getting close to the IHS target here. Probably going to need a retracement slightly before or slightly after we get there. Afterwards, ideally. CC, looking at the triangle is off the table here, but I've penciled in a pretty nice looking flag on the 60-minute. We need to go a little lower to get there, just below 9,000. We will see. On wheat, no current divergence. Seeing a bit of weakness here after we made this IHS target, which is a good time to see some retracement. I'm not seeing anything suggesting this might be a big high, but we'll see. We've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed on corn and an RSI 5 sell signal. This is suggesting we'll see some downside, and we're likely to break through the daily middle band and rising support just below in about the 502 area. Looking at soy, no current divergence, and I'm wondering about this double top breaking down and delivering some more retracement. And on CT, we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed, and the RSI 5 sell signal has reached the possible near miss target. So we've seen a bit of retracement. We could see a retest of the low here, and the flag is suggesting that we might. Overall, we've got a buy signal that in due course I'm expecting to make target. Ideally, the easiest way to trade this would be see retest this low here, 66.25, and then have a beautiful double bottom, which would have, on a breakup over 69.25, would have a target in the 72.25 area. That could be a very nice trade over the next few weeks. We will see how it develops. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. I'll have this... I'll get this posted, and I will catch you guys again on Friday. Watch out for a post I'm going to be doing tomorrow morning on the decline and on the topping patterns, which I haven't covered in as much detail here as I'm going to be doing in there. So, but I'll be looking at those targets again and looking at what needs to come next if we're going to be starting to break down from that. We shall see. Anyway, I was promising you guys last year that this year would be an interesting year. So far, it's even more interesting than I was expecting. We will see how it develops. All right, cheers.